Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Endless Ocean Luminous for the Nintendo Switch. I used to have Endless Ocean Blue World for the Wii, but for some odd reason I never got around to playing it. If I had to guess why, it was probably because it required a Wii remote and I just did not want to use all of those batteries because I'm pretty sure I didn't have my charger for the Wii remotes back then. So thankfully when Endless Ocean Luminous came onto the Switch, I realized, oh, the idea of an underwater Breath of the Wild can finally be realized without all the elements of Subnautica that kind of scared me off from that game. So the premise of Endless Ocean Luminous is that you've got various biomes of ocean diversity, such as freshwater, Arctic, saltwater, etc. And your job is to scan as many fish and treasures as you can to try to fill up an encyclopedia. Now there is a story mode tying all of this together, but we'll get to that in due time. For now, all of the fish that you haven't scanned are going to be in a hue of blue, but after you scan them, the light will come out of the fish and come to your diver, so then the fish will be its proper color. When you scan a fish, you will see a description about fun facts about the fish. I advise you not to read these too much, because while it can be interesting to learn about some of these, especially as a lot of them are real fish, they can get into some surprisingly sexual territory, which seems a bit odd for a game this innocent, but yeah, if you're the squeamish type, some of the ways these fish reproduce are quite interesting. The controls are quite simple. You just move around in 3D space, press B to do a dolphin kick, and use R and the right trigger to move up and down in the water. You'll have a map that shows how much of the ocean you've explored, and that can help guide you in the right direction of the fish, as you can say, well, okay, if this map is unexplored, then maybe there are fish that I haven't seen. And you even want to scan the fish that you already have in your encyclopedia, because you get special rewards and more points for scanning everything in the area, even if it's already in your logbook. Over time, as you gather points, you'll do what's called a tag draw, where you will get a various tag that you can attach to a treasure or a fish that you've found. And for the most part, this is just to help you orient yourself around, as there are various achievements that you can do that are sometimes tied to location. You have what's called the mystery board, and it has 99 squares that need to be unveiled. Some of these squares are as simple as just doing good, but sometimes you'll find these glowing boxes with bits of lore from the story. Sometimes you'll find a podium that says to bring a specific fish to it, which I never figured out how to do. I thought I did it, but the game didn't register it. But either way, you can use the relative location of some of the fish and treasure as a way of orienting you toward these other landmarks. I wish you could put the tags on the landmarks themselves, but it's something. Now, the underwater locations that you discover are, for the most part, quite nice. There are definitely some biomes that have long stretches of nothing but water and sand, but you'll see quite a lot of coral reefs and caves and chasms, and my personal favorite, an underground chasm that has fish bones and coral growing everywhere. I love in the icy region when you're under a giant iceberg and somehow you can see the bottom of it, which you don't typically hear about in diving stories, so it's really good that this game is in a fantasy setting. You also have nothing to worry about. There's no health bar, no oxygen meter. This is not Subnautica. This very much is the kind of game for people who want to relax. The fish don't actively chase after you. In fact, one time I swam right into the mouth of a shark, and I just passed right through it. So you do not need to have to worry about anything. So let's get into the story for the time being. There is a story that has loose lore-related reasons for why these various things are happening, and why is it that when you scan a fish you get light. Honestly, I really did not like the story mode in this game. There were some chapters where all you did was just listen to the characters talk. There would be no gameplay, just talking, and then they'd say, "Chapter complete." But then they had various benchmarks that you had to complete in order to unlock the chapters in the first place, and pretty much all of them were scan this amount of fish. And I did not like that approach either, because it felt like the game was trying to justify its existence for being $50, and they say, generally speaking, People who pay a lot of money for a game want a lot of content, so let's give them a lot of fish and a lot of treasure, and that'll make them think it's worth $50. I'm not a big fan. I thought the story mode was incredibly boring. I didn't like how it restricted how much you could explore because they wanted to save it for the solo dives, I suppose, for lack of a better word. I honestly think the game would have been better off without a story mode, as even when you're playing the normal game, there will be these events that occur, even in solo dives, where it'll somehow have an explanation to it. Like it'll say, you need to find these weird creatures in the area. Why? I don't know. Just because it's there. I think that honestly would have been a better explanation. Now let's get into the multiplayer aspect. If you do a shared dive, then up to 32 people can swim with you in the selected biome. Now, to my knowledge, I do not know how to get a group of friends together to do this, as it seemed very random who I hung out with. And the interactions are pretty limited. All you could really do were you could use emotes, which you can buy from the shop. You can use a tag to convey a particular emotion, like if you have a heart tag, you can do that. You will automatically wave to someone when you get close, but the lack of voice chat could be a hindrance to some. Personally, I think it was a good idea because I've heard horror stories of women and girls and men that have high-pitched voices being treated like absolute trash. And I was like, I fit the latter criteria, so I don't know if I'd want all that nonsense. So it's good that Nintendo has such a wholesome environment, but it would have been nice if maybe there was an option for if you were with your friends, if maybe you could voice chat at the very least. But this was where I had the most fun with the game, was I loved being able to swim with other people and explore the ocean together. I loved how if someone else finds a treasure or a special fish, they can attach a tag to it. The problem I found with this system is that there's no way of saying thank you. I wish I could have said, wow, that was a really cool treasure. Thanks for helping me find it. But as it was, I didn't know how to do it. One really cool thing is that you can teleport to the location of other divers whenever you want, and you can also see what areas of the map they've explored, and if certain missions appear, then they can help you clear them. I personally wasn't a big fan of these missions because they would interrupt the gameplay and force everyone to come to a stop as the dialogue was read out. At least you can skip the cutscene that appears, but that's about it. I highly recommend that if you're going to get this game, you probably want to do it online because that can make it easier to scan the area and you can get rewards faster. Now, as far as customizing your experience, there's honestly not a whole lot that you can do with the money that you gather. There are only 3 categories of things at the shop. Different colors for your scuba diving gear, different stickers that you can put on your gear, and different emotes. And the emotes are really only useful if you're playing multiplayer. So if you say you don't have a Switch Online membership, you're out of luck. The stickers, I didn't really see a point to that, especially because I am terrible at DIY stuff. And after I got the blue set, I was like, why even bother unlocking more colors? I wish there was more stuff you could unlock, like maybe a better tank that let you move faster. Some kind of RPG system would have been really nice here, as I found myself only purchasing a handful of colors because I really like blue, and then being like, well, this was a waste. I wish I would have been able to purchase more. However, as much as I dislike the way the shop was handled and the way the story was handled, I really do enjoy this game quite a lot. I love games that heavily feature exploration. That's why Tears of the Kingdom is currently my favorite video game. And this game feels like an underwater Tears of the Kingdom. Sure, it may not have any threats, but since when does that make a game bad? It may be simple, but again, I'm the type of person that if the game is good, it doesn't really matter whether it's simple or complicated. What matters is that I'm having fun. And I did have fun for most of my time playing Endless Ocean Luminous. I liked the opportunity to be able to swim around with different people, even if the interaction was pretty limited. I liked the models of the fish. I thought they were really well done. The animation could probably be better, but then again, I suppose in real life these fish don't really do much, so there really wasn't much they could do. Aside from some of the sharks having a bit of a bony mouth and having no teeth, they looked pretty photorealistic to me. And I thought that the underwater looked pretty nice. Like, you could still tell it was a Switch game, but at the same time, there are some certain moments that are pretty jaw-dropping. Like when you discover something unusual, like a sunken ship, or the ruins, or when you're close to the surface, the way the water ripples is done really nicely. You can mix and match the ambiance, the music, and the voice acting because you have an AI companion that reads out the descriptions of the fish and also helps narrate in the story mode. The voice acting was terrible, and I get it, they did that on purpose because it's an AI, but man did it get droning, especially every time I captured a fish. I would hear that annoying voice narrating everything about the fish, and I just said, this is stupid, and I ended up turning it off. I also turned off the sound effects because it got annoying to hear the same sound every single time I scanned a fish. So I eventually just kept the ambiance and the music on. The music was really well done. It felt soothing, but yet there were times when it was more upbeat. It was pretty sporadic, like it only appeared when it felt like it, kind of like how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did it. But it was still pretty good music, and it helped immerse me into the atmosphere a lot. Now, would I say that Endless Ocean Luminous is worth $50? Probably not. It is a pretty simple game, and all you're really doing is looking at fish and picking up treasure, and not much else. Unless you really like exploring, you're probably better off getting something like Subnautica, because that game has a free roam mode where there's no threats, and the environments are much more diverse there. And it also has a story mode that has a survival tacked on it, whereas the story mode here is kind of an afterthought and a way to pad out the game a lot more, whereas I think Subnautica would give you more options. However, if you like the low-stress atmosphere, and you want to capture all of these fish, and you want a more accessible game that doesn't have all the complications of Subnautica, I think you might like Endless Ocean Luminous. Just don't pick it up at a full $50 unless you really want to 100% the game. If you're the type of person that just wants to casually dive in the ocean and explore, maybe wait for a price drop before you pick this up. It is still a really great game, and I do think this will probably be one of the bests of 2024. It might be an underrated title, and I'm happy to stand by being that one person on the internet that really likes this. But don't let all the 7s and the 8s let you think that this is a lesser game just because it doesn't have the most action-packed thing or the most complexity. Sometimes people just want to have a relaxing underwater experience, and this game fits that. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the video. Do you like underwater exploration games? Let me know down in the comments either way. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!